Good afternoon and welcome to Webinar Wednesday. We're excited to have over 250 registered attendees for today's webinar, which is eligible for 1 credit from the ACI. We're going to get started today by giving away one Technician Tour shirt to a lucky attendee for answering this upcoming trivia question. This week's sponsor, Nuvolo, is headquartered in New Jersey. Named a music legend that also hails from this state and entitled his debut album, Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey. You can answer now using the question feature on your dashboard. And while you're answering, I want to go ahead and invite everyone to the next MD Expo that's going to be in Orlando, October 5 and 6. More information on the MD Expo can be found online at mdexposhow.com/Orlando. Also, I do want to take a moment to say happy HTM week to everyone that's attending the webinar today. TechNation is doing a contest this week, giving one lucky winner a $50 Amazon gift card. You can find more information on our website at onetechnation.com. We'll chat out a link to the contest details here in a moment in your chat box. All right, but let's see who's the winner of our TechNation Tour t-shirt. Looks like I have a winner here is James Horton. James, you got the correct answer. Bruce Springsteen was the answer to this week's trivia question. Webinar Wednesday does want to give a big thank you to our sponsor, Nuvolo. Nuvolo is a leader in cloud-based enterprise asset management software. Their mission is to deliver an innovative platform and personalized service to their customers and partners globally. Learn more about this company by visiting nuvolo.com or visit them in person during the AMI conference at booth 433. Our presenter today is Andrew Sweet, Director in Solutions Consulting at Nuvolo. Andrew, you may begin whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm glad to have this time with you to share what Nuvolo is doing for clinical asset management, how we're helping healthcare technology management teams to innovate and keep pace with their needs to grow and gain efficiency. So a little bit about myself. As Jamie said, I'm the Director of Solution Consulting here at Nuvolo. I have a little over 30 years of experience working with technology, the last 13 years in healthcare technology specific areas. And I'm excited to meet each of you virtually, of course. So for our agenda today, we'll give you a brief introduction to Nuvolo, which I kind of started and I'll finish up. We're going to focus on a use case for a Nuvolo customer called Children's Health of Dallas. And then we're going to take a behind-the-scenes look at the Nuvolo platform and go deeper into that area. So, Nuvolo, just to talk a little bit about who we are. So Nuvolo is a purpose-built clinical enterprise asset management platform. Some of the high-value points we're going to discuss today are, how to make more informed decisions about your clinical equipment by leveraging real-time reporting and analytics. Nuvolo provides live data dashboards and easy-to-configure reports, not just static reports like many of the legacy solutions in the market. How to adapt your processes and workflows with our click-to-configure architecture. In our solution, creating forms, workflows, and reports takes minutes, not hours, because as your industry changes, you need a platform that enables you to adapt your business processes and how you manage your assets. Next, how to achieve the highest compliance and safety standards with in-depth auditing and compliance tracking for all of your assets and work orders. And this empowers you to easily generate the proof you need for joint and DMV audits. And we also provide that integrated auditing and compliance to allow you to quickly respond to not only those audit requests, but to integrated alert and recall processes like ECRI and RASMAS as well. Then lastly, how to provide your clinical staff, technicians, and managers with easy-to-use and personalized user experiences to enable them to request service, complete that service request, and manage their work on any mobile or cloud-enabled device, internet-enabled device. Because we provide, we all perform our work differently, So Nuvolo provides the flexibility to easily personalize our product to your work style. So at Nuvolo, we're helping innovative healthcare companies across the globe better manage their medical assets at scale. In fact, by this autumn, Nuvolo will have the most clinical assets under management of any vendor in the world. Specifically, we'll have over 2,000 hospitals, 3 million clinical devices, and 2,500 healthcare technology management technicians throughout the US, Canada, Europe, and Asia using Nuvolo. So we'll talk a little bit about how are hospitals innovating with Nuvolo, and we'll start out with a story from our customer, Children's Medical Center of Dallas. So a little bit about their situation before Nuvolo. They had over 30 applications they were using, managing and maintaining, with a lot of people transposing data between them, working with out-of-date information, and of course they were also paying for user licenses across those redundant systems, which increased their operating costs significantly. And these are applications that included clinical asset management, facilities asset management, supporting their operations planning and design teams, project management teams, and even their IT systems. Now they started out with our clinical asset management solution because their previous system was just not flexible enough to meet their need to innovate and adapt their processes. Also, the cost to maintain and modify that legacy system was simply too high to justify when compared to Nuvolo. They also had a real challenge with just messy and redundant data across those different business units and applications. So as we implemented our clinical asset management solution, word spread through the organization, and the facilities management team came to us next. And of course, they also manage work orders and are responsible for all the facilities assets that support the clinical operations. And they quickly realized our facilities application for enterprise asset management could help them while providing a single platform of engagement for them to share and relate things. And we'll show that in the demonstration today as well, what that means to have that single platform of engagement. And then lastly, over the next year, we met with the other teams and groups I mentioned and replaced all of those 30+ applications with Nuvolo and the ServiceNow platform. So today, we're going to show how we help healthcare technology management teams deliver better patient care, and we'll show this from the perspectives of the 4 groups of people that interact with our clinical asset management solution. The first group is the clinical staff. So these are the individual clinicians and doctors that report issues and request work to be done by the HTM staff. And we provide a self-service portal for them to request that service. Oftentimes, though, among those clinical staff, when they're dealing with patient care, especially in surgery centers and emergency departments, the last thing you want is for them to have to, someone like them who's focused on patient care to have to log into an application and create a request to the HTM team. In those cases, the clinical staff just want to make a phone call to request the service. So we empower your call center staff to intelligently handle those calls and route work orders to the right team or team members to expedite those requests. The next group we're going to talk about is the HTM technicians themselves. We hear from many organizations that their technicians are still having to print out work orders, come back to their desk to either look up additional information or enter information when the work is completed. And even if they're using an online or mobile access to their legacy solutions, they tell us that the tools are so cumbersome that it's difficult to use and to enter the information they need into the system. And to address that, we provide a mobile-friendly, technician-friendly experience that allows you to access needed information and easily enter data at the point of service. And that's online or offline as well. And this is especially important in the bigger picture because it ensures that the HTM leadership in your organization, the clinical directors and vice presidents and management, have the rich data they need collected by the technicians as they're doing the work. And we'll demonstrate that as well. The last group is, of course, the HTM leadership team. Now, I know we have a lot of directors of biomedical, directors of clinical engineering on this call, and we're going to show how we allow your technicians to easily enter rich data such as work order itemized cost and compliance and validation data, allow them to access the critical knowledge such as repair and service instructions and checklists that they need to complete the work properly and quickly. And then all of that, of course, is geared towards ensuring that you get the data you need to analyze and report to upper management and D&V Joint Commission, and to make as informed decisions as you'd like to make about capital planning, contract management, vendor management, and of course just which devices to purchase going forward. So we're going to address each of these groups' needs. So let's jump into the live platform demonstration. So give me a moment while I transition my screen here. So this is the Nuvolo self-service portal. This is what clinical staff and hospital staff can interact with to self-report and track their work orders using any web browser on the computer or tablet device. And we also have a dedicated native mobile application which we'll demonstrate as well. So the purpose of this is to consolidate self-service access for all of your groups, including Nuvolo's applications for clinical, facilities, and laboratory asset management, as well as ServiceNow or other third-party IT service management, human resources, and other applications. Now, we also provide a quick status of any work orders that the person has requested, as well as knowledge-based articles for common questions. So let's go into this in a little more detail. So from a clinical perspective, which is what we're focusing on today, we provide two ways for them to report an issue or request service. The first is, of course, a very simple web-based form. We auto-populate their name, they've logged in. They can begin typing or search from a list to find the asset they want. We automatically know the location from either our historical data, or if you have a real-time location services product in place, we can integrate with that to pull that location data in up to that real-time moment. They can, of course, enter by default a corrective maintenance request, or they can choose from a list of available request types, and these are completely configurable. Everything about our product follows that click to configure architecture that I mentioned early on in the slides, and that includes the ability to change these fields, rename them, add fields, mark fields as required, hide things, make it as simple and easy as possible. At that point, they simply enter the description of the problem they're having. They can get a quick view of any other work orders that have been entered recently related to that asset. And this tells them, of course, if anybody else has reported the issue, then they know, oh, well, they don't need to. They can just click into and view that and subscribe to follow it to see when it gets updated and get notified. The other technique, and what you might have saw on the previous screen, is we also provide a report on map capability. I've already brought up a specific floor here, and what this does is it allows them to start typing in the search box, something that describes the site, the floor, the room they're in, whatever that is that they understand, and quickly find the floor map. And then they can hover over, and as you can see, as I move my mouse, select the area they're working in or where the problem asset is, click that, and then automatically create a work order request based on that location. Again, starting to type the name of an asset, they can quickly find it based on the asset code right on the device, enter a quick summary, device won't power on, something ubiquitous, it's broken, whatever they need to say, and then click submit. Of course, that submits the work order. It shows up back here on their home page because they've reported it. They can track it, and away they go. Now, the goal of this is, and we'll show our mobile app here real quick as well. So if they have smartphones or tablets with them, they can, and I'm just bringing this over from my other screen, use our native application, which is what you see here, to come in, type an order summary or use, voice to text. So for example, the unit will not power on. I hit the stop button too soon. Come down, attach a photo or a file if they've got one local, Of course, they can find the asset by scanning the barcode with their smartphone camera as well, all providing a quick and easy experience for them to report an issue. So yet another mobile-friendly way for them to report in and request a work order. So just to review, we've shown how Nuvolo empowers your clinical staff to quickly self-report and track issues. Yes?
Andrew, please switch your screen. You're still on the portal screen. Attendees are only seeing the portal.
That's what I have up right now. So.
Yeah, thanks.
No problem. So just reviewing again, the goal is to give an easy-to-use experience for them to come in, use the portal, report issues, use their mobile device, and then, of course, get back to focusing on the patient care that they care so much about. So right now I'm going to switch over. We're going to look at the call center agent's perspective. So, many clinical staff simply want to pick up the phone, call the key contact or call center agent, and have them enter a service request, a work order on their behalf. And Nuvolo helps you efficiently respond to those requests as well by providing an integrated call center application. Here what you're seeing is our call center dashboard. Let me click that. There we go. There it comes. So here you have our call center dashboard. This is where an agent would work. All of our dashboards, even the out-of-the-box ones, are completely personalizable. So I can change the layout of this, add content from a list of pre-made reports or widgets like this, drag and drop to change the layout, whatever makes my work easier to do. And you'll notice the second I make a change to that published dashboard, I get a My version of it. So this is mine. When I log in, I'll see my version. I can always go back to the standard call center dashboard anytime I want. And everything about this dashboard is live and interactive. I can come in and see the calls behind these bars just by clicking into them. I can filter, say don't show that, show this, don't show that. Everything about it's interactive with the data right there behind it, just one click away. So if I wanted to see the 16 hang-ups, I click that, I get the 16 hang-up calls, right? Just as simple as that, one click away. Now, of course, when someone calls in, we can integrate with your unified communications system so that they can auto start a record. I've got one prepared just like that. So at this point, someone has called in, it's pulled up, or the call agent has clicked new call, they get this form, they can quickly search for and find the customer, and this might be a department. If you're managing multiple campuses, you can set up customers for each campus to differentiate the campus and the assets associated with it. Of course, the callers would typically come from your employee directory, but if the person is not in the directory, they can, as a call center agent, simply create a new contact right here by filling in these fields. Then, of course, they can get a description of the asset or the asset tag from the caller, type that in here, and identify the asset. In this case, you can hover over and see that this is a, I believe this is an infusion pump from Baxter, correct. It gives us, of course, the location, so we know when we dispatch this work order that's going to be generated to the clinical tech, it comes with that location data. Of course, they can identify not just phone calls, but if they receive emails, they can mark this as, hey, an email came in, I'm creating the call contact based on that, or a walk-in or from someone walking into their office. At this point, all they have to do is, of course, enter a short description and click create clinical facilities or lab work order. At that point, when they click that, we will generate the work order based on the information about the asset, location, caller, and it'll get routed automatically based on automatic assignment rules. Now, sometimes when things are urgent or it's a critical piece of equipment, they want to actually, do a dispatch. They want to make sure the call center agent wants to make sure this work order gets not only generated, but assigned to the technician who can immediately address it. So for that capability, you can enable an override, a dispatch mode, at which point, as it says right here, you can go to the scheduling tab and say, you know what, I want to find a technician either by schedule. So we'll say, show me everyone who's within 300 miles of the work location, in this case the asset location, and it will do that search because everything in our system is geo-aware. It'll show the technicians that are within that range and their skill sets. So they can say, well, if this was an MRI the person was calling about, then I'd probably want to assign it to Chris if he was available. And then, of course, I can see their schedule availability, see the next time slot, click that. It fills in all the information for the routing, and I simply hit create clinical work order, and it gets routed and assigned directly to that user, and of course they get notified as well. Now, alternatively, we can also do that same kind of a search instead of based on just schedule availability to say, you know what, let's find someone who's in close proximity. So here we have, let me zoom out slightly, the work location, so where the asset is, in this case in Dallas. We can see that I have a technician nearby and another one a little farther away. I can view their schedules to see their availability. And of course, we can manage schedules within our system so that, you know, it's real time if they're on something or it's, you know, they're tied up at that time, that slot doesn't show up here. Or we can integrate with, you know, Exchange or Workday or Kronos type time management systems. So in this case, I'm going to select Chris because he's closest and it's an urgent issue. Select the time slot that works next. Everything's filled in. And I'll go ahead and, oops, if I scroll down, now when I create that work order, I know it's getting routed to the technician who's best able to address it and as quickly as possible. So, you know, to summarize, this call center capability lets you provide that single pane of glass for your call center teams, because with different customers, you can support different call center teams. It doesn't have to be just one call center as well. You can have multiple call centers using this. You can dispatch the work orders to the closest or best qualified technicians, and of course that improves your dispatch efficiency and saves your travel costs and things related to that as well. So the next step is we're going to switch over and look at the technician experience. So as I bring up my technician dashboard here, we'll see a couple things. Again, a fully personalizable dashboard. So this is the My version of the clinical technician queue dashboard that we have out of the box. There's a number of dashboards available. So this is just one of them that we're going to focus on today. This shows me some really great, you know, tactical day-to-day, you know, my work orders, things that are assigned to me by priority. My group's work orders that are not yet assigned to one of my group team members. Some metrics and key performance indicators around how my group's performing. So how many work orders are in pending state, opened, closed today, the average duration for the work order from opening to close. Gives me some idea of, you know, the mix of types of work orders I'm getting for the corrective or preventative. And these, again, can be completely configured. If you want 5 more types of work orders, that's 5 clicks, and you've got those categories, and you can create work orders of those types. Again, being able to look at the teams, see how the workload has been distributed, come back and look at my preventative maintenance work orders past you. Again, just rich data, all live. I can come in, turn things off, turn things on, filter the way I want, get the view that I need. And again, everything's one click away. If I want to see, you know, these 2 high priority work orders, I simply click that bar, takes me right to the filter list. So, you know, I get the idea. So coming back over here, I can come back to my dashboard. We're going to go ahead and look at a work order, kind of a day in the life of how the technician's going to interact. So once they look in their queue, they see the next thing, the next priority item, they can click into that. You get an overview across the top, which is the work life cycle for this work order. That life cycle can include some optional items like a pre-checklist and working checklists, and overall, you know, gives them a very quick access to understand what the work order is about. So, you know, a simple hover over here or click through will take me to the asset. You know, that's one click away. The ability to, you know, see the location, one click away, click that. It's going to pull up the floor map. Going to be able to see, oh, it's okay, it's in Dallas Hospital. It's right here in that room right there. Now, if I want to see other things maybe that are open right now on that same floor, I have a breadcrumb type filter here, and I can just click one level up and say, oh, there's a number of other work orders that maybe I could address while I'm there just to be efficient, or that are related to this or similar devices. And of course, as I hover over these, it shows me where they are. So very quick, easy context to let me work in a proactive and intelligent manner. But the first thing, after looking at this actually, that I'm going to do next is see this checkbox under contract. Now, a lot of organizations, especially on an item like an infusion pump, they'll have 800 of those units in their inventory. Some are 10 years old, some are 8 years old, some are 2 years old, and still under warranty or contract. So we flag that so the technician knows to come down and say, oh, let me look at my contract coverage. Well, as you can see, this has contract coverage from the manufacturer or a provider, doesn't matter which, it'll show up here, whether it's warranty, service contract, or repair service, various types of contracts. They show up here. You can see the coverage, 100% for parts, 100% for labor. So in this case, on this particular unit, I'm going to go ahead and coordinate with that, contract vendor. I can do one click to get through to the full details of that. So in this case, it's through Medtronic directly. It's good through another couple years. I can come down, of course, and click in and see the terms and conditions and which assets are covered, everything I need to know how to interact with that supplier or vendor to get the work done. Now, I can also see some intelligent context. So if there's upcoming preventative maintenance, that maybe I want to take care of that while I'm on site. The full work order history for this device. Now, this is very important, of course, because it doesn't just show you, what's been happening recently. It's also a full report that you can use for Joint Commission and DMV to, be able to see that, everything that's been done, both preventative and corrective maintenance. So also very helpful if you see the same issue occurring, you can develop a pattern from that. You can see that pattern. You can talk to your coworkers that worked on those particular work orders, brainstorm and look at and make appropriate actions to make sure that if it's signs of impending failure, you're taking the action necessary. Lastly, the thing I want to show here is what we call active knowledge. So when this work order was created, because it included this model and make and version of device, we automatically included relative and relevant knowledge articles. This could be an operator's manual, like in this case, or procedure checklist or calibration documentation, whatever is appropriate for that type of device or the type of work order as well. So it can be mapped based on corrective versus preventative versus other types. Now at this point, I know I'm going to coordinate with that third party because it's under contract and to complete the work, and that's going to involve, of course, either they or I entering in, the problem cause. I can either start typing or pick from a list. So maybe it was, physical damage, resolution codes. Again, I can start typing or, say it required an on-site service, enter the detail here, enter the schedule. So when did the service start, end, estimated versus actual effort. We can project these things out when we create the work orders for things like preventative maintenance, of course. And then, of course, at that point, we're ready to move forward, but we've got a pre-checklist. So if I click that, actually, let me save my changes real quick. Pre-checklists allow us to do not only things like lockout, tagout, safety procedures, but also, things where I need to validate or get data. So in this case, it's going to come up and ask me a couple things. First of all, a ventilator is a very key critical care piece of equipment. So it's asking me to make sure, talking to the internal customer, to the reported person, is there a backup unit available? Because if I take this thing half apart and find a problem, or have a problem that I can't reassemble it, they may need to, put off, depending on the nature of their work, they may need to put off the more extensive work. Is there, common troubleshooting issues? Is the power connection certain? Does the unit pass its startup self-test? And I can record those, and when I submit that, now it'll allow me to actually, begin working on it, go from, open to work in progress, for example. It'll also record that data as a permanent record for compliance and verification right here in the verification data section. So everything about the work order history, any tools that are required, if there's special tools, we can automatically associate those with the make and model and unit. We can also, of course, for IoT or IP-enabled devices, come in and relate utilization data back into the system, either from the device directly or collecting it from the management system that the device reports into. And then, of course, based on that, create preventative maintenance schedules, which we'll talk more about, that are triggered by utilization. Lastly, we can do work orders, service level agreements to make sure this gets escalated if it's not addressed within a amount of time based on our priorities. and then also, clinical work order tasks. So for deeper dive, more than a checklist type of complexity procedures, you can create an entire section like what we see here of tasks that need to be done, and they can be checked off. And of course, the work order can't be closed until those tasks are completed. So multiple layers, but ultimately, just to summarize, the goal here is to give a comprehensive capability so that technicians not only can come in, see where it is, see what it is, see the related knowledge and contracts to do the work better and more efficient, but also so that they can come in and record valuable data like when the work is done, such as, costs such as labor. So I can come in and say, I spent 2 hours on this, click submit. I can come back in, for example, went to the other tab that I had open, browsers. Come back in and say, you know what, I'm going to also enter, I used a part to repair this, so I'm going to come in and enter a part. And what this does is several things. We have a full labor rate table for both internal and third-party and service provider rates that you can populate based on your contracts and such. And parts stockroom and inventory management are also part of the system. So when I select a part, it doesn't just, say I used the part. It actually assigns it, debits it from the stockroom, which I can select from based on the part I select, set a quantity, and it also tallies up the cost. And these are very important, whether it's labor, lodging, meals, parts, or travel. These are the costs that add up over the year and that add up to the total cost of ownership. So, for example, if I come in and put time for travel or meals expense, for example, I spent $48 on meals this day. All of those costs get rolled up, and we'll talk about that more in just a moment. So I'm going to switch over now to the manager perspective so that we can see the value of those work order itemized costs and all this other data we're collecting. So as I switch roles here, I'm now logged in as a clinical manager or director. This allows me to do several things. So the first thing is every company on this call has their own key performance indicators. And Nuvolo's configurable platform allows you to make informed and effective decisions based on any piece of data in the system. This includes our standard dashboards, like we're going to show today for management, capital planning, compliance management for Joint Commission DMV audits, etc. And as a manager, these are standard dashboards, but again, that I can personalize any way I want by adding content, changing the layout, dragging, dropping, and moving things around. But out of the box, we provide some really valuable insights, things like projected end of life, so you can see the capital costs that are coming up in the future and when, and for which devices. And again, all of these are, click right through to see that device and the data behind it. Labor forecast, so looking out at, preventative and corrective maintenance as well, that's forecast or that's scheduled out. You can see those things, both by group, monthly by group, weekly by group. We can see our device inventory changes, things that have come in, gone out, fault counts by device and asset type. All of these things are just simple examples of out-of-the-box reports that we collect inherently because of our model-based approach to relating everything within the system intelligently. So again, very, very easy to visualize, to see things, to come in and filter out things I don't want to see. So everything about it, you can change groupings, you can sort them by asset type. And these are all reports that are easily defined within the system without any programming, without any customization by Nuvolo as well. So again, very, very flexible. Now, we're going to switch over and talk about our capital planning dashboard next, because I think all of these charts and graphs are great, but if you don't show how the data is actually used, it's just, kind of eye candy. We want to make sure you understand that these are real dashboards based on real, algorithms and science and accurate data. So looking at the capital planning dashboard, some things right at the top here are life cycle contracts. So, service and maintenance contracts with vendors, and of course the cost, the realized contract value. So if you paid $13,000 for this, so far you've received $4,280 worth of parts, labor, etc., and that's equaling about a 32%, return on investment for this. Now, at the end of the term in 2020, if this is at 60% still, then you probably paid too much and you might want to renegotiate that. If, of course, it's 180%, you got a great value, you want to renew that, it shows that it's renewable. Some things aren't renewable or they're warranties where they just expire, so you won't see a renewal date on those. So these are just examples of, again, intelligent context and foresight, because ultimately leadership is about foresight. So having the data is one thing, being able to use it to understand how your future is going to go is much more valuable. So again, all of the breakdown of costs by facility, by type, by parts cost, by travel, etc., all broken out very simply, allow you to see end of life, etc. So very, very straightforward. So let's talk about how we collect that data and where it all goes. So this will be the last topic we really focus on in the webinar today. So I'm going to bring up an asset here, and I'm going to show that, here's a GE Cigna. In this case, you can see the full information if I scroll down slightly here. There it comes, too far. So the vendor tab shows us it's a GE healthcare product, Cigna Explorer, who owns it as far as internal customers. We can see the resources, as far as who owned, managed, support group, etc. We can populate those if you like. Very important aspect here. Because we're based on this, in part on the ServiceNow platform, and also because of the way we designed our product to be everything related and in context, we also can do things like this, where we can say, you know what, this MRI is managed by a GE Cigna host PC running the command software that runs the MRI. It uses these internal components, and these are click-throughs to parts, in this case, and components within the system that is this MRI, sends data to this server, a GE-provided Dell server in this case, and again, all these things are one click away, has these parts that are replaceable, and is tied to this specially prepared room, of course, for an MRI, at this location. And all of these can be visualized in what we call a business service map. And this is important because it doesn't just show you as a technician or an asset owner how these things work and what the dependencies are. It actually gives context to other teams. So if facilities is using our system and they want to come in and do some maintenance on the AC for that building, they'll know, or that room, if it's in a zone that they know they're going to impact, they can see exactly what the device is, because they can look at it from the room perspective and the location perspective and see every device that location is supporting. IT, if they're managing the IT assets like the underlying network or Wi-Fi, they can come in and say, gosh, if I take down this network segment, they'll see that server is attached to it, and the PC workstation as well, the device management workstation down here. So all of these things give context across teams to allow them to understand the impact and relationships between not just enterprise asset management like this, but all the IT assets and everything else. So when we do those work orders, we tally up the costs. Those get rolled up to the contract as applicable, to the asset total cost of ownership. Of course, the maintenance and everything comes out. We track all of that financial data and tally it up. All of this is part of the model. We do the risk scoring. We can do a ton of other things. There's a few thousand more features in the product that I haven't covered today, but we wanted to just summarize up here. So we've shown, each of the personas, how people interact with our system. We can do the advanced risk scoring with your own algorithms, or Wang and Levinson, Fenico and Smith, or any derived formulas. You can do all of these deep dive, technical capabilities of how you manage and how you include things in alternative equipment maintenance based on those scores, etc. But ultimately, we allow you to, schedule your maintenance, do a data-driven architecture that empowers you to analyze, understand, and take action on all of this information in intelligent and innovative ways. Ultimately, so you can make better and more informed business decisions. So I'm going to pass the conversation back to Jamie now for questions.
Hi, Andrew. It is time to get started with the Q&A, and before we do, I want to remind all of our attendees that you're welcome to submit your questions anytime. We're going to get through as many questions as we can leading up to our 60-minute mark today. If we don't ask your question on the webinar, I'm going to send all of the questions to the Nuvolo team once we're offline. They'll follow up with you. as needed. But we're going to do something a little different today, attendees. Instead of starting Q&A with Andrew, I want to start the Q&A with the attendees. I do have a poll that is now launched on your screen. You should be able to see, would you like a personalized Nuvolo demonstration? Please, attendees, take some time to answer now. Yes, please. No, not at this time. We're going to send all of this information over to Andrew and his team, and he'll contact you as appropriate. But while everyone is getting their answers in, Andrew, let me throw a question to you. The first one we want to address today, what are some common applications we are migrating from?
Sure, great question. So Nuvolo has a lot of experience, of course, migrating people off of legacy CMMS systems like Archibus, Maximo from IBM, Four Rivers, Metamizer, you name it. It's a pretty common thing for us to displace those systems. We do that in a very structured way, what we call a right shift mentality, meaning bring in the data that you know is true, that's valuable, whether it's historical work order data and audit data, or configuration data about the asset and its state. We go through that validation process, oftentimes doing inventories and things as well, and we make sure that those systems come into our system where you're truly getting the full value of our system. So we can migrate any of those legacy systems.
Perfect. And I don't know if you can. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. We've had quite a portion of the audience vote. Now it's taken us back to the original slide. Is there any contact information, maybe a slide that you could bring up? We'll leave there for the rest of the Q&A.
Oh, I did not have a contact slide prepared, but I can show our website, which of course will give you
perfect
information you need to reach us. So let me bring that up and share my screen again. Bear with me for a minute, get the right screen sharing. So as you can see, our website is just nuvolo.com. If you click contact us, you'll see all of our contact information right here. So sales, partners, contact phone numbers.
Love it. We're going to leave that here while we work through some more attendee questions. Next question, do you support barcode scanning?
Yes, we do. So obviously with any device that can take a camera picture, such as a mobile phone or tablet, you can just scan the barcode on an asset, either to add it to inventory or, of course, to look it up to create a new work order on it. And that's, of course, very valuable for the clinical staff who just need to report an issue. If the device in front of them, as they're standing there, has that asset tag with a barcode, they can just scan it and create the work order request based on that.
Great. Do you support assets outside of medical devices?
Yeah, so as we stated at the very beginning, and as you might have saw in the self-service portal, Nuvolo has vertical specific modules for hospitals and healthcare, for clinical asset management, for facilities asset management, and for laboratories asset management. And of course, most larger healthcare organizations have all three, right? They have facilities, they have an internal lab, and they have, of course, the clinical side. So we can manage all of those, and of course, with our partnership with ServiceNow and being based on the ServiceNow platform, ServiceNow can offer the excellent IT asset management capabilities that they bring to the table as well.
All right, our next question is going to be, how much control over the hospital inventory do you give your techs, i.e. add, delete, changing departments?
That's a great question. So everything within the Nuvolo system is role and group and activity-based permissions. So by default, a technician would typically be able to add things to inventory and take things out, but all of it is configurable. If you want to make it so a certain field is read-only, unless you're in a certain role or group, that's a few clicks. It's, again, the richness of our click-to-configure architecture means that you can make any of those kind of permissions-based, role-based changes to the behavior of the system, and not only are they not custom in that they won't break if you do an upgrade, they're persistent and they're part of that click-to-configure support.
Wonderful. Another attendee would like to know, it would be great to hear more about Nuvolo's partnership with ServiceNow and PartSource. Could you provide more insight into these partnerships?
Sure, excellent question. So as we stated, Nuvolo's product is built on the ServiceNow platform, ServiceNow being the largest enterprise cloud company in the world, and of course who got their start in IT service management, but has a range of offerings from HR, self-service, and management to everything else that in the IT sphere as well. So what's called a scoped application, meaning we benefit from all of the capabilities of the platform while maintaining our complete independence of configuration within that ServiceNow instance. So if you are our ServiceNow customer today, you can just go to the ServiceNow App Store. You can purchase Nuvolo. We authorize you to download it right through the App Store, and it doesn't affect any of your changes to the ServiceNow platform and vice versa. You can make any changes within our application, but we get the benefit of being able to be fully integrated into that ServiceNow ecosystem as far as tying in with the other systems and modules. And a great example of that is a lot of focus lately, of course, on security, on securing hospital devices that are based on PC operating systems or embedded operating systems. And ServiceNow is a great IT discovery and security suite of products. As part of that, of course, IT will oftentimes have medical devices, clinical devices, come up on their scans as having potential vulnerabilities. And with Nuvolo being built on the ServiceNow platform, it's one click for that security operations technician who's got a security incident up on his screen that he needs to address this potential vulnerability to dispatch a work order to the appropriate clinical or facilities or lab team using Nuvolo's work order system, and have them, of course, work with the vendor to remediate it. And when they close that work order, it automatically notifies the security analyst to retest and rescan and verify that everything's remedied. And that's the beauty of Nuvolo ServiceNow integration. Oh, PartSource, sorry. You did ask about PartSource as well. We do have an integration with PartSource. So instead of us doing the stockroom management, as I described in the demonstration, we can integrate with PartSource to go get that part and issue the PO and everything. And that is an integration we've built. So it's out of the box.
Perfect. Another attendee would like to know, do you handle FDA UDI?
Yes, we do. We do have support out of the box for FDA UDI classifications. So that's the standard features of the product.
Great. Can you do alternative equipment maintenance?
Absolutely. So as part of the risk scoring model, we can also use, based on those risk score and other criteria, do AEM inclusion formulas that not only let you do alternative equipment maintenance and, of course, justify it with an algorithm-based selection of whether devices qualify or not, but to track that. And, of course, if the device starts having problems on the alternative maintenance schedule, it'll exclude it from the inclusion formulas, the risk score changes, and then, of course, go back to the manufacturer's schedule as well. So very intelligent alternative equipment maintenance.
I like this one. Does the CMMS interface with only OEM test equipment, Fluke, Pronk, Baytran, Rigel?
So we do have an out-of-the-box capability to integrate with any number of systems. It just depends. So if you're using like a Fluke Med Tester, where it outputs its text-based CSV type file, that's very simple to pull in. We're working with a couple different customers actually right now on doing some of those more real-time integrations from the test equipment, like while you're holding it in your hands type integrations. It just depends on your needs and the level of integration you want. But yes, absolutely doable given our architecture and our data import, export, and integration capabilities.
Typically on Webinar Wednesday, we have at least 30 different countries represented, and today one of the attendees has asked, all of the features are very good, but how do you handle implementation? We represent a hospital in Mexico, and teach adaption can be very, very hard, and tech adaption can be very hard.
Yeah, so the first thing is, of course, the ServiceNow platform and Nuvolo being built on that platform has excellent internationalization support. On top of that, Nuvolo is a worldwide organization with resources across the globe from our services perspective. And as a gold partner, we're very experienced in implementing, ServiceNow as a platform from, ITSM and ServiceNow modules as well as Nuvolo. So we definitely have the support needed to help you accomplish your goals in Mexico or anywhere else in the world.
Great. A follow-up to an earlier question, is there ECRI integration?
There is, both ECRI and RASMAS as well, including the automatic generation of alerts and creation of the work orders, of course, to address those.
Perfect. And how is pricing of this system structured? Asset count, user license, SaaS, or other?
The standard licensing is per user per month. I don't do the pricing. I'm a technology guy, but we can certainly follow up with anybody. If you reach out to us, we can talk to you about pricing and options.
All right. And do you have native mobile capability?
Absolutely. We have a native mobile app. The app I showed actually at the beginning is a native app for Android. I was showing it on my Android phone. We also have iOS and Windows Universal Framework, so Windows tablet and phone support as well.
Great. Well, Andrew, I want to extend another thank you, not only to you for your time and wisdom today, but certainly to our sponsor, Nuvolo. A reminder to our attendees, you can learn more about this company by visiting the website, nuvolo.com, or again, you have the opportunity to visit with them in person at the AMI conference, June 9, 10, and 11. Their booth is 433. I'm sure you can stop by, meet the guys, ask for a personal demonstration and any additional questions that you may have at that time. One lucky attendee is going to win an Amazon gift card for completing our post-webinar survey today. Details are going to appear on your screen shortly with the survey. You must complete the survey to obtain your certificate of attendance. If you do not see the survey, please email us at webinar@mdpublishing.com. We are going to take next week off from Webinar Wednesday, but we're returning in June with 2 to 3 webinars that are scheduled. You can go ahead and register and see a complete list of upcoming webinars by visiting onetechnation.com/webinars. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. I'll see you back here in 2 weeks.
Great, and thank you all for your time today.